Hello, and welcome to Breast Cancer Conversations, a podcast brought to you by survivingbreastcancer.org. I am Laura Carfing, breast cancer survivor and founder of survivingbreastcancer.org, a nonprofit organization providing community, education, and resources to empower those diagnosed with breast cancer and their caregivers from day one and beyond. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today is part 3 of our conversation with Liz during our live stream podcast recording. Parts 1 and 2 I'll hyperlink to down below in the show notes. This part is all about the Q&A, with an emphasis on self-advocacy and how to know if your medical care team is the right fit for you. We have a few more live stream podcasts coming up as well, so if you'd like to attend one of our recording sessions and get a chance to ask questions to me or any of our guests, head over to survivingbreastcancer.org/events, and you can check all of our upcoming programming. So let's jump right in. Welcome to the conversation.
I was wondering, what were the emotions or thoughts that ran through your mind when you decided to undergo surgery to remove your ovaries? What were some things that crossed your mind when you came to that decision, or in the moment, what was it that you felt, and what did you feel after?
Yeah, in the moment, I'm kind of thankful that they finally agreed to take them out. That initial was like, okay, awesome. I don't have to do these Lupron shots anymore. Great. Let's get this over with. Few days actually before the surgery, I kind of just felt really sad. And it was I knew I was done with having kids, and but this really made it final, I guess, for me. And even though I knew I was done, there was no more children. But I think it just really finalized it almost. So it was kind of sad. And then afterwards, it was just, let's move on. Let's, recover, get back to work, and move on with life. And now I don't really think about it a whole lot, thankfully.
Michael.
Michael's got a hand up.
Yes, Michael.
Yeah, so I was going to ask that, although you had a lot of internal knowledge of how the hospital works, like being a nurse yourself, what advice would you give to someone who isn't part of the healthcare system to get that initiative to get the care that you need?
Yeah, I feel like the key is to really have care providers that you have a good relationship with. And for me, I don't know the oncology world outpatient at all at Mass General. That was all new to me. I was, texting former colleagues to say, who do you recommend I go to? And that's honestly how I picked my care team, was off of recommendations. But if for even my PCP, if I didn't, jive with them, no hard feelings, but I'm moving on. It's not worth being uncomfortable with someone, and you have to have difficult conversations with them. So really finding someone that you can have those difficult conversations with, someone you feel supported by, and you constantly have to advocate for yourself. If you don't know, just ask. Don't do what I did or most people do and go on Google and stress yourself out more. And but just ask those conversations. There is no stupid question. And I say this to my patients' families all the time. I don't expect you to know these things. My job is to
you don't know why you had your ultrasound first? You don't know why you were there first?
I know. For the tech, it was just because they messed up. But yeah, you need to constantly advocate and ask, and ask those stupid questions. Those are the easy answers for your providers. And I also was someone that never reached out for little things, and I don't know, I felt like I was bothering the doctors or whatnot. And but now it's every ache and pain, I'm shooting an email saying, hey, do you think this is okay? Or should I get an MRI? Or, just little things. And I mean, part of me does feel like I'm bothering them at times because they're little nuisances, but then the other part of me is like, what if it's not? And what if it is something? And I like want to catch it early. So, yeah, I think just constantly advocating for yourself and finding someone you feel comfortable with. And that's really all you can do.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Sarah?
I can just add a little to that because I made it through, actually, I don't even recall. I'd have to ask my husband, but I think I made it through almost all of my chemos, if not all of them, before finally coming to terms with the fact that I needed to get rid of my oncologist. So I agree with Liz 100%, going with your gut, your instinct around what connections you're making with your team. I kept sort of putting too much pressure on myself that I didn't want to hurt her feelings. When in hindsight, she was often hurting mine, and it just wasn't a match made in heaven. So it was a hard decision to make, but in the end, I'm very thankful that I now have an oncologist that can continue with me. And when I do bug her about those little things that Liz is talking about, I don't feel bad about it at all. And she does not make me feel bad about it at all. So
what were the red flags? Like, how did you know it wasn't a good fit?
So I already am a person who has probably before this mild to moderate anxiety. And, obviously due to then having a diagnosis, my anxiety is now from pretty moderate to severe. And she just didn't know how to handle that. And every time I worried about something, worried about the medication they were putting me on during chemo, I had very bad reactions to every chemo. She just continuously kept telling me to not worry, you need to learn to not worry so much. You need to just live life. You need to just all these constant comments at me. And it was sort of, I would come home, or get in the car with my husband, just bawling my eyes out and be, and feeling bad because I was just like, this is who I am. Like, I can't, I'm working on it, but I can't change who I am. Like, this is me trying to deal with having cancer. And I mean, I was hospitalized after my first chemo, and I just remember her coming to visit me in the hospital. And one of the first things, she said to me was, well, I'm glad you're in here to be able to get some relaxation from your family and some rest. And maybe you can think about, reflecting on not worrying so much and letting me do my job. And it was sort of like, what? Like, because I was just asking her question after question after question when she came in to visit, and she was just sort of like, you need to chill out, Sarah. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, and stupid me, I went another, 3 months with dealing with her until I think my sister and my husband were just like, okay, I think we need to find another oncologist for
and who has time for that? You're going through cancer. You're going through a diagnosis. First off, who doesn't have high anxiety going through this, first of all? And then secondly, to navigate the healthcare system, to try and find even another doctor, like, it's hard, right? So it's easy just to say, I'll suck it up and I'll do it for a couple more weeks, or I'll do,
yeah, she definitely had, and it might work for some people, as I've learned, talking to people, some people just sort of want their providers to guide them and tell them what to do. And I'm sort of more like Liz was saying, I advocate for myself, and I ask a lot of questions, and I ask them why when they try to tell me you need to do this. Well, why? Explain to me why. And I honestly think she didn't like that. She wanted me to just do everything that she thought was right for my plan. And I didn't agree with everything all the time. And luckily I had the best oncology infusion, like chemo nurse ever, because he completely, just backed me on everything as well. So you definitely need to find your right team.
Yeah. I actually just had this conversation with my dad, who was sick, and I was like, you need a new primary care. This is ridiculous. Like you need a new PCP. And I got him all hooked up with a bunch of doctors at Mass General and appointments made and everything. And he's like, but I just feel like really bad, and not like, do I call my PCP and tell him? And I was like, listen, he has 2,000 patients. He's not thinking about you. Like, move on. It's not worth it. He hasn't treated you appropriately, and move on. He's not going to be like, oh, where did he go?
Right.
Just find someone that is going to treat you the right way and the way that you need and that you feel comfortable with, and move on. Life's too short.
I had a bad experience. I had deep cleft reconstruction, and I had a bad experience with my plastic surgeon. I wasn't happy. And I worked in medicine for 20 years. I was an ultrasound tech. I did breast biopsies. I mean, I was heavily involved, and I knew better, and I knew how to advocate for my patients. And I didn't advocate for myself. My husband begged me to leave him after I had complications with surgery, and we were really not happy with the way things were going. And I didn't stick up for myself, and I didn't switch, and I should have. He didn't treat the complications I had correctly, and it was unfortunate. I'm now with a different plastic surgeon. We've had surgery since, but I'm in a worse situation because I didn't advocate for myself and because I didn't switch plastic surgeons. I was afraid. I said to my husband, what if I go to someone else and things don't work out well? Then this guy's not going to take me back.
Right.
So I was afraid, and that was stupid. I should have just moved and found a better doctor. My husband begged me, and he said, you advocate for your patients and you don't advocate for yourself. What's wrong with you?
Easier said than done, right? Like, it's so easy to say it to other people, and then when it's our turn, we can come up with a million reasons why it's not the right decision.
Yeah, for sure. So note to anybody, advocate for yourself.
Yes. And if you
do it.
Yes. And if you have any doubts about that, we do meet every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. And there is a group of powerful men and women who are like, we will make those phone calls for you. We will cheer you on. And there's one woman who unfortunately has her meetings every Friday. So after the Thursday calls, she's like, oh God, my oncologist is so mad every time I come in on a Friday because I talk to you guys on Thursday. You guys get me all excited. And then I go in with all my questions and tell them how it is. So yeah, there's support out there, and it's just great to have a sounding board and just know that, it's not all in our head. These are our realities, and we're not experiencing this in a silo. Thank you for tuning in and listening to our podcast. If you would like to find out more about our organization and upcoming events and ways to connect, you can find out more by visiting our website at survivingbreastcancer.org. I would like to acknowledge that all of the information on our podcast is from personal experiences, and it is not a substitute for professional medical advice. You should always consult your medical care team. If you're looking for specific topics or would like to be a guest on our show, feel free to contact me directly at laura@survivingbreastcancer.org. And of course, we have a couple social media handles you can follow us at as well. For example, survivingbreastcancer.org, all one word, as well as our podcast specifically, Breast Cancer Conversations. Until next time, keep on thriving.